Good evening, all. I thank you for providing me this platform to share my thoughts and my work. My talk today is titled Not Just a Toilet and aims to throw light upon the landscape of sanitation in India. India is a home to many methods of worship, be it ritualistic, yogic, and spiritual approaches for connecting with oneself and with the supreme powers in the universe. While you are looking into the presence of ideas and narratives of sanitation in the context of ancient literature in India, we found narratives of Shaucha, which is a combination of practices about cleanliness of the body, mind, and spirit. The yogic practices of Shaucha dealt with themes such as general hygiene, isolating disease causing pathogens from human settlements, and strict prevention of water contamination by human waste, blood, or hazardous substances. Further, the readings in the Manusmriti reinforce the ideas of a strong separation between the living spaces and the spaces defined for cleansing. We then conducted a short study to understand the separations between the living and cleansing spaces in a small town near Bangalore, where we understood through conversation with the locals that the hinterland area was what was used for bathing and defecating in the past, as they are distant from the living spaces in the town. Over the years, with the expansion of the town boundaries, these hinterlands were engulfed by the growing town, leading to a lack of open land available to define for cleansing. This forced the community to include these public and common toilet spaces within the town in multiple locations. Although this is a study in sample area, the course of almost all cities in the country are about the same. This got us to understanding and discussing the presence of these toilets within the city and their architecture. The images here are of some spaces defined as public toilets in different cities in India. An overview of this led us to further question and inquire into the architectural presence and vision for these spaces. It made us wonder if the architecture defined for these public toilets still continue to be an exclusion from the urban fabric, although it physically sits within the city. Through design, we tried to establish an inclusion of the toilet into urbanity in terms of its architecture and aesthetic. We also imagined proposals that were gender inclusive and easily accessible for all. A restroom is not just a polished word for toilet. The Lightbox is a public restroom that is unique in terms of both form and function. Beyond the obvious toilet blocks, the restroom aims to provide women with an exclusive social space, something that is atypical of urban landscape in India.
The brief given by the NGO was pretty straightforward. They wanted a restroom for women and a WC for the handicapped. It actually helped us to take the word restroom quite literally and create a resting space. The public toilet is just 30% and the 70% of the space is just landscape where women can come, sit, maybe read a book, a newspaper. That triggered a new concept of what public toilets could be. The material palette is completely governed by how the climate works, and secondly, how we can ease the maintenance of the restroom. If you see, all the outer walls are made of stainless steel, which are easy to clean and it's protecting the restroom from the outer side. 70% of the space is the landscape, so there we have just defined it with perforated metal, which allows a lot of natural light coming inside, a lot of ventilation happens. It's more like you're indoor but still you're in the outdoors. The whole idea of this tree, it takes you back to the vernacular setting in the villages. Trees are always looked up as the best resting places. People very casually go and sit under the tree and then they start chatting and then they spend hours. Earlier we had plans to plant trees and create like a lot of lands. The tree was already there, so we thought like why not build around it and then use the natural setting. The most sustainable architecture that we have resides in the villages, because there are no architects who go and design those buildings. It's just the users, they respond to the climate, they respond to their needs. So this whole prototype really responds to the city's needs.
This diagram here represents all the layers that went into making in this prototype. Due to the success of the prototype, the corporation decided to build 14 more such units within the city, each within a radius of 500 meters from one another. As a result of these conversations, we decided to make a family of restroom with small, medium, large and extra large restrooms. Based on the space available in cities, we could modulate each of these prototypes. The restroom variant could take up many forms with the basic idea of a central garden that would comprise 70% of the total space. These variants could translate to any public facility that the city needs, like a bus stop, a Gram Panchayat office, or a post office. This resulted to another design for toilets, the Light Pavilion, with similar kit of parts like the Lightbox. This prototype was designed for the local station platforms of Bombay, one unit on each platform of the suburban station. The proposal had a similar spatial narrative, like the Lightbox, with perforated metal and metal structure. In India, community spaces often seem to be incidental. The stepwells and bowlies, for example, serve as spaces designed to fetch water, but the elaborate architecture itself provides for conversations among its visitors. Our learnings from these spaces were about visibility, porosity, and the potential of design to provide for community interaction while catering to a simple function like fetching water or even using a public restroom. The next project, Pause, is a building that sits as a marker along the Bombay-Goa highway, communicating visually to the passersby. With multiple access points and signages allowing the visitors to select their access points, with dedicated entry to male toilet that streamlines the circulation, making it easy for maintenance. The interiors are very porous with plants along the edge of the urinals. The openness allows the odor to escape and dries the toilets quickly. The entry to the female and differently abled toilet is close to the front facade, so they don't have to navigate deep into the site. There is a similar planting detail along the edge of the basin and nursing station. The truck driver section has a Suvidha Kendra, tuck shop and a recreational space supported by toilets, washing and bathing spaces. The recreational space is semi-open with a charpai that makes the user comfortable to occupy this facility. The side elevation of this facility has a flamboyant facade where the form is responding to the function. The isometric here shows how all the activities interlock with one another in a manner that makes circulation easy for different user groups. This facility has a dedicated staff which looks after the building, which is a very important component for sanitation projects. Another idea that emerged out of this narrative is a community sanitation prototype, which we had proposed for the smaller districts of Calcutta. Along with toilets, these prototypes would offer separate spaces for male and female for bathing, washing and drying clothes. A reading room with a central garden along with dedicated open spaces for men and women with a tuck shop facing the street. The open space links all the activities together. In section, the roof gets detached from the walls to ensure good ventilation and lighting. The tuck shop forms the elevation towards the street, along with the steps and public spaces for men. After the public edge, one arrives into a garden surrounded by brick walls that has several access points. The edge of the garden has a library or a reading room, a recreational space for women, hidden access points to toilet blocks. All of these functions converge to the central garden. The central garden also holds the floating population during peak hours. The excerpt here is from an article called The Toilet, A Philosophy of Releasing by Jean Lee, where he talks about how architecture throughout history has been a rich expression of human lives, while the spaces for our releasing have been consistently dull, anonymous, and lack artistic expression. In this context, I would like to talk about the importance of addressing the user group in a sanitation project. Public toilet in a village, for example, which will be used by a community of farmers, would definitely be different architecturally from the one in a city. We explored these ideas of responding to specific user group to shape up the architecture and give the space a human-centric expression. We studied the truck drivers community as a user group and defined a proposal which would accommodate living and sanitation facilities for them. The video shows the context in which the truck drivers move constantly at a stretch of 22 hours with no pit stops and spaces to rest or rejuvenate. In 1982, for every 1,000 trucks, there were 1,300 drivers available. This number reduced to 750 by 2012 and is predicted to come down by 450 by 2025. The Truck Drivers Village in Chitradurga is a project that responds to the lifestyle and struggles of the truck drivers community.
गाड़ी लाइफ में कोई ठिकाना नहीं, ना आपको खाना मिल लेता है सही ढंग से, ना कहीं नहाने का टाइम मिलता है, लेकिन अपना कोई पेट पालने के लिए तो कुछ तो काम करना ही ना पड़े।
दिन में 500 किलोमीटर चलाना ही चलाना है, रात में 500 किलोमीटर चलाना है, सोते कहाँ हैं हम लोग। मैं रोड पे 15 दिन 20 दिन मैं चलता ही रहता हूँ। ट्रक ड्राइवर की ज़िंदगी बहुत बेकार है, वो रोटी ही पे कट जाती है उसकी ज़िंदगी।
धूल मिट्टी से तो मतलब डेली नहाना है, पानी से नहाए या आदमी या ना नहाए, लेकिन धूल मिट्टी से डेली नहाना है। घर परिवार का याद हमेशा ही आता रहता है, या खाना खाने वक्त का भी टाइम मिलता है, सोने वक्त, मतलब याद तो आना ही है।
सबसे ज्यादा किसको मिस करते हो?
माँ को, सबसे ज्यादा माँ को।
हमको हमारे बच्चों की और मम्मी की याद ज़्यादा आती है।
बाहर जब हम निकलते हैं तो मेरा ये घर परिवार सब यही है, हमारा घर परिवार वहाँ भी है और यहाँ आने के बाद यहाँ भी है।
This is a process of how the building was conceived. The site is divided in three parts and the triangular spaces are used for parking. The middle space is used for fuel station and an amenity building. The amenity building is a triangular form which is further divided into smaller squares, each forming a house that offers different activities: to eat, to relax, to recreate. This forms a collection of homes, a village for the truck drivers. The plan is a complex geometry that comprises many courtyards that hold all the supporting facilities. The gardens inside the courtyards are designed with huge boulders and discrete vegetation to create a microclimate and to reference the landscape of Chitradurga, where the site is. The transient housing for truck drivers is an outcome of the facility we designed for Chitradurga. This project sits on a narrow plot measuring 50 feet by 500 feet in Rajasthan. At the front are common facilities for truck drivers and common people with a departmental store, grooming center and a tea stall. All these facilities sit around a courtyard that connects with the main spaces. This court with a huge tree becomes a marker in space. The housing is laid in interlocking T-shaped units. Each unit is imagined as a T-shaped block with a common toilet. The other T unit then interlocks, and the units further expand with a common interlocking wall. This whole system is laid out in a pattern that creates a fabric suitable for the climate of Rajasthan. The courtyard inside each T unit is used as a common living space by the truck drivers, where they can share their travel stories with each other. The rooms with bunk beds are used as spaces to rest. The center of the complex is a common space that is used by the drivers as a chowpal, where they can hang out during the day over a cup of tea or snacks. The remaining areas are designed as recreational spaces for carom and cards. The rooftops are open for recreation and to sleep at night under the sky, and other common pockets for leisure. I would like to end my talk by emphasizing that there is immense room for artistic exploration for designers in sanitation once one stops looking at its components only through the lens of function and standardized norms. Thank you.